Hi, my friends. I'm so glad that you're here today listening to me. And I have a very special guest today. Her name is Brit Costa. Welcome, Brit. How are you?
I'm doing so good now that I'm here with you. I'm excited to get chatting and so happy that I've met you.
Yes, I'm so happy that I met you. And I was just telling you, I've listened to you on several podcasts now, and you have a beautiful story to share. And that's really a lot of what we do here on this podcast is share our stories because I think one that makes us feel not so alone because we are all going through things that we hold inside of ourselves. Two, we get to share like the tips, the tricks, whatever it takes to get through that journey. And we really get to be able to be on the journey together that way and know that we're all here for each other. So if you wouldn't mind, I would love to dive right into your journey. How did you get to where you are right now?
Yeah, so thank you so much. I feel like you can get so much advice and people can regurgitate so much information, but if the right person hears it, then it's just so
Mm,
worth it. So ultimately, it seems that I've been called to help people a little bit that have suffered loss or have been grieving. And it's really important to me to open myself up and not keep what I've learned inside. So, my main loss was the loss of my son, Conrad in Princeton. It was my first pregnancy. I wasn't really familiar with how pregnancy works, so that was a big one for me. And we had had a bit of infertility before that, so we did IVF. They were identical little boys. And about 3 weeks before delivery, went to an appointment, and they ended up being still in my stomach, which was really, really hard. The most traumatic thing anyone can ever imagine going through. And it being my first children, I mean, there's so many things that are just terrible about it. And I am 8 years post the loss, but um, experiencing a loss so incredible as your first children and knowing that, what was once alive inside of you is dead inside of you is just the most um, terrible thing that someone could probably imagine going through. And so I experienced that. And I remember just thinking, how will I ever go on? It felt like I wouldn't make it through the minutes, the hours. Everything was amplified in that journey. And I think the hardest part is I've been blessed with three healthy boys as well. And I feel like there's a bit of judgment, like, she has her children, she's been blessed, but it doesn't take away your loss that you experience. So while I have been incredibly blessed in my journey and I'm so grateful to be where I'm at, it doesn't take away that what has happened to me has shaped my life in such a different way. And it's put me on such a different path than where I was before, and I'm a completely different person because of it. Um, but there were very dark moments in my life that I experienced post that loss, and time has went on, and I remember looking up hashtags like infant loss, thinking, okay, how did this woman get through it? Like she looks so happy now. If I could just fast forward to where she is and almost just erase what had happened, that was a huge kind of goal of mine, was to just make the hurting stop. And how can I get there? And it was probably my greatest wish, other than to have my children, was to just get through and move on and not hurt anymore.
mhm. Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that very sensitive story. I have a few friends who have shared recently in the past couple of years about um, babies that they have lost inside of them, and um, I am somebody who's not able to have children, so that's like a different kind of loss in general. And I think for lots of years, and this might just be my community, but it was kind of like, that's quote unquote normal. Lots of people go through that, and it's kind of like brushed aside. But it's a deep, deep mourning that every single woman who has to experience that goes through, I'm sure. So I think that we should know that you guys aren't alone and that you guys can like talk to each other and help each other and share the story and be able to maybe even mourn a little bit together. So I really appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, and grieving is different. Like you had to grieve probably the idea of you being a biological mother, if that was something that you wanted at some point. And I think when you want to be a mother so badly, there's so much that comes along with the loss because you know that you have this beautiful life and home to give them. And um with the loss of my son's kind of being how do I say this? The fact that there was a bit of negligence, it hit even harder just knowing that they could have been here. And that's the
Mm.
hardest thing on top of it is just knowing that like they could have been saved and you have to be able to move past that and let go, but they weren't, and accept that and have peace with that because those little voices in your head will eat you up, keep you up at night. And there is a huge community out there for people suffering, but you have to at some point be able to grieve, but be able to shut off the, well, it should have been and what could have been because it's not. And this is what is now. And I think the hardest part I see is people coming to terms. And then on top of that, there's that shame from society that's kind of, well, why is she still going on about that? Like, hasn't she come to terms with that? Like, she has, three new children. I'm just speaking, this isn't
Yeah.
specifically happened to me, but I really wish that there would be more grace because our body keeps the score, and I just believe that the pain can be stored in the trauma and all of that. So it's not like something, oh, you can just go and make a new one. It doesn't take it away.
No, no. I love that word grace with reference to this, definitely. Others giving yourself grace and you yourself giving you grace to be able to move forward, but still um, hang on to maybe not what could have been, but like hang on to the memories that you do have of your baby boys. And I mean, you were able to build a business with their names, right?
Right.
Yeah, and just being able to do that gives a little bit of grace and a peace of mind as well.
Yeah, and it was really hard making that jump to name a business after them because one of the biggest things I was scared of was, well, what happens if I fail and then their names go away again from my
Yeah.
life? And that was just something that my husband basically, if you don't ever try, you'll never know, and you always wonder. So
Yeah.
I took that chance, and we're coming up on 8 years, and I'm so incredibly happy that I did take the chance because it created such a great purpose for me, and it created a space where I didn't mind sharing my story and I felt I could help people a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I guess that leads me to like, so creating those business, is that part of what helped you um come into the next era, the next season of your life after that? Like, did that help you?
It definitely helped. I think any distraction or obligation because you have to nurture
Hmm.
a a business, you have to nurture an employee, and you have to nurture the process in yourself. So I
Yeah.
think it did create a purpose because that was my new baby at that time. And I had to make it grow. I had to let it start and guide it along and fix it when and help it when it needed help. And so it was my baby and I cared and I didn't want those names to come down off the building. So I sometimes I think if I hadn't named it after them, would I have given up in some of the hard times? Maybe. I mean, we went through all the shutdowns and the closures and things like that. And you kind of ask yourself, like, man, is this worth my peace? But getting to that point totally helped. Really, ultimately, I started doing these things I call like little victories that got me there. And I started journaling, and it became
Mm.
almost impossible to find any sort of joy or excitement in my life. And I'm like, wait a minute, snap out of it. You're alive, you're breathing, you're well. You have so many blessings. So I would, at the end of the day, I would write like every time I remembered smiling through the day, because it's easy to forget when you're going through something that you actually did have good parts of your day and that joy does still exist. And so
Mhm.
I would write them down, little things like I laughed at a joke, had a really amazing coffee, got to see my baby niece, and little things, just whatever, had the best meal ever. And I would like read them and then kind of reflect on my day and be like, life is not so bad. Like, we're going to get through this. But seeing it in front of you kind of takes you back to reality of, yeah, there are still things. And that's why I felt like those were victories. Even if they were small victories, they were still leading me through a path of healing. And I was very proud to be able to put that together.
Yeah. I love the idea of little victories. That's great. I talk about small steps a lot and being grateful every morning. I do what I'm grateful for, and I try to say the same thing as you said. Like it doesn't have to be this huge thing. It's the little small things every day that can touch your soul and fill your soul up. So I love
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
And you know that negativity is so much more powerful than positivity. So, of course, that is always going to just take a strong hold. And the way we talk to ourselves, we would never talk to someone we love that way. And it's important to pull ourselves back and say, hey, if someone talked to my friend like that would not be cool. But here we are doing it to ourselves. So it's just really important to have that be able to reel things back in and say, like, wait, we need to be kind, we need to be aware, we need to watch how we're talking to ourselves, we need to focus on the gratitude, the joy, boundaries are a huge thing. So yeah, that was helpful.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Awesome. And now you have a business where you actually nurture other people, I feel like, right? You create an environment that is very nurturing. And can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we're pretty much a full service salon,
Hmm.
and we have about 30 employees now, or a part of our team. And we take care of our guests. We make them feel beautiful in every way. We have a little boutique. I do our best to stay up on our education, provide a really welcoming atmosphere, and really just we care a lot. And I feel like so many business owners are burnt out, or they don't care, or they're in it for the cash. And of course
Hmm.
we all want to be successful and make money, but we try to be very fair and affordable while providing an excellent experience for our guests. And they are all valued. And you know, there's some people that are so jaded as far as guests, where maybe on an occasion we've had a situation where someone was unhappy, and then I spoke with them about the situation, and they always seem so surprised that I actually care. And I think it's because how often they're being unnurtured and brushed aside when they do have things. So they're pre-programmed to be like, well, they just don't care. And it's like, that's quite the opposite. If I take a quarter from you, I want you to feel loved and appreciated. In fact, without the transaction, I still want people to feel that way. So we nurture them. They come in, they need a refresh, they leave feeling beautiful, they look beautiful. You see the change on their face. Um, some of my greatest moments are just standing back and watching the chairs full and seeing everybody working and talking and all of the relationships. And I mean, they say hairstylists are people's therapists for a reason. And it's a really beautiful thing that we can grow this brand, and very, very proud of it. And then we have our anti-aging clinic, Macro Med, which was
Mm.
a combo of my son Malcolm and Roman, which is kind of cool. And macro means big,
Yeah.
so I was able to do an ode of their names as well. and we take care of preventative beauty, anti-aging. I mean, there's something for everyone. If they're against one thing, we can have another health treatment for them. So, we can be living longer, and some people want to age a little bit more slowly. So we try to help in that process.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, taking care of your skin and your hair and the outside of you is really just as important as taking care of the inside view on the day-to-day basis. I mean, we are in these bodies, so should take care of them and respect them and give them as grace as well as all of our insides that are that need that as well. So I love that you do that.
Oh, it's so true. And TMI, maybe not, but Thanksgiving was beautiful. We had yesterday, and I wore a bra for the first time in I think 8 years. I've been in sports bras and like nursing bras and other
Yep.
bras. And so when the family was walking in, I'm like, I could see like faces and thinking like, did she have a procedure or something? And I finally was like, attention everyone, I've been asked this. And it was like, full Thanksgiving moment. I am just wearing a real bra. It's lifting things, it's forming things. I haven't worn one in 8 years. So no, I have not. And everyone was hysterical, obviously. I just say I haven't worn a real bra in 8 years. Like that's crazy. Like so yeah, our when we're talking about taking care of ourselves on the inside, I've just been in whatever is comfortable because when you're comfortable, you're in this like safeness, this coziness, and you feel like it's like when you're under a little blanket and
Mhm.
having more structure and the whole routine, it adds a bit to it. But
Mhm.
yeah, how we look on the outside, they fully coexist of how we look on the inside and how we feel on the inside. So it's really important to take care of yourself. And we can think, oh, it doesn't matter. This is okay. But sometimes I'll do my makeup and I'm like, who is this girl? And it's kind of nice to see just an enhanced version of yourself. And I think society has gotten a little bit too comfortable with like leggings and sweatpants, and it makes a
Mhm.
little more room, which makes us less accountable for good fitness, or we can get bigger a little bit without kind of knowing it, and that's fine, gaining weight and all of that process. But you may not be aware because we're in this stretchy clothes all the time. So, yeah, it's just nice to hold yourself accountable sometimes for the health.
Yeah, absolutely. And it definitely can be, a confidence booster too. You do a little something extra with your hair and you're just like you said with your makeup, you're like, oh yeah. And I teach and I definitely as much as I love wearing baggy, comfortable clothes at home, I can't wear that to school because I want to be thought of and treated in a certain way. And sometimes you just have to look and feel that part. So yeah, I get that.
Yeah, that's really awesome you can put an outfit together. And I mean, I don't know how teachers do it standing with the kids all day. I help my children's class like Mondays and Tuesdays, and I'm just amazed at the patience that our educators have. And it's not an easy job. So thank you for what you do.
Oh yeah. No, thank you. I think all jobs are important, so for sure. And I am also getting to that age where I'm getting a little bit older, so I know that just taking care of our skin is such a big thing, and taking care of our hair when you reach a certain age is definitely more important. I don't want it to be dried out. I mean, I'm gonna get wrinkles, and I get that, but it's also just like nurturing yourself, like touching your face and you having a skincare routine. It just really um, it's good for your skin. So that's, really important as well, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, having some type of dedication to yourself, and some people that's their ritual is the time that
Yeah.
they take with themselves. And so you're absolutely correct. And we have some
Mhm.
people, as far as you mentioned wrinkles, where I'm anti-changing the way I look, and I'm like, well, you do color your hair, that is kind of changing the way you look. So take away the stigma of it, and then you're buying these skincare products to steep in when there are other routes to apply those products for when like a microneedling treatment. If you're not wanting toxins, they can pull blood, spin it in a centrifuge, pull out the platelet rich plasma, put it on your face, take little needles, poke, poke, poke. And now you have beautiful skin, helps with your collagen, you're feeling really good, you're feeling beautiful. It's anti-aging. So maybe you have this thing where you hear like med spa, Botox, filler. You're thinking someone that's gone overboard, botched style, but it doesn't have to be that way. So there are other ways to nurture your skin and yourself the same way you would your hair. For everybody, there's a little something for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really interesting. Because you have to be careful the lotions that you put on your skin as well. So it's really whatever you feel comfortable with. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
there's nothing wrong with trying something new
Yeah.
uh, and and aging gracefully if that's what you choose to do. And I mean,
Mhm.
it's your body and whatever you feel comfortable doing to it.
Yeah, definitely. So one question, and you have already touched on a few ways that you have done this that I really love, like your little victories and like your journaling. But one question I ask everybody is, how do you nurture yourself? Whether on a daily basis or a weekly basis, how do you take care of yourself?
I think I'm very accessible and I don't love that. So a huge thing for me, um, well, I have a huge family and I have a a big line of communication with my staff.
Mhm.
So a big thing for me in nurturing myself is setting boundaries, being less accessible. My boundaries, I've realized, and it took a really big toll with people being able to take out their own frustrations on me. So being able to finally get that courage to say, hey, what you allow will continue. These are my boundaries. This is what makes me feel comfortable. I
Mhm.
think I'm most proud of that is protecting my peace and with my boundaries because I don't like to say, I don't like to say that someone, you're allowing someone to affect you because it's almost like you're to blame when they're already potentially doing something to disrupt your peace. But you truly are in control. And I don't think people realize that they have the ability and the strength to say, hey, no, no more of this. I don't want to have to share my time at X time. No,
Mhm.
I don't want to be disrespected anymore by this individual. It doesn't matter if they're your family member. I mean, there are things in your control to help in the way that you feel about yourself. And you can set those boundaries, and there are many different ways to do them. And that comes into my day to day because as I have my children here with me, I have a 2 year old, a soon to be 6 year old, and a 7 year old and it's very important to me to be able to have my time with them and not be stressed out on top of it. So I have come up with different ways of communication and when I want them and it it's different for everyone, but I feel like with cell phones and technology, we can be interrupted at any moment and it can be something potentially negative. It can be even something positive, but it's just not the right time. And I see people being fully open, like a liquor store, for anyone to come in and out. And that's not the way it should be. We should be able to have our protection, protecting our peace, our bubble, have it with our family. And by doing that, I can then nurture myself in the things that I need to do. I can focus on the projects that I'm wanting to pursue. I can focus on God, my children, my husband. I can focus on my mental state. I can check in with myself. I can write. And so the big thing of the boundaries, cutting loose things that are no longer serving you have helped big time for me on how I nurture myself and how I respect myself because um, it's not easy running a business sometimes and you have to make hard decisions on occasion and being a mother and a wife you also have to do those things so it's very important. So I'm very glad that you asked that because I wish more people would create boundaries and protect their peace a little bit so they can nurture themselves.
Yeah. Oh, I love that answer. I know, as a teacher, I had to stop answering my work emails during the weekend. I'm like, no, that can be a Monday through Friday thing. So something even as small as that, which was really hard for me to do. But then there's other things like I know my friends have said, "Oh, you don't really do as much lately." Well, no, I have my family, and well, my family is two teenage stepdaughters. So like while they want to hang out with us, I'm hanging out with them.
Oh
And-
yeah.
yeah. So, that's the boundary. Like, no, I'm not gonna do some of the stuff that maybe I would have before because right now I'm all about family. So, mhm.
I, you're amazing, and to be able to have the confidence when I am projecting, I could not wait to get all of that out to you because that took me a long time to get there and a lot of tears and a lot of frustration and when you realize how much the external can affect your emotions and then in return your mental health and in return the way that you're treating the people in your closest circle and it's one of those things where if you can come up with a system it can be done and now I am so hardcore on it that I think I have a little less patience for people who allow others to disrupt their peace. So I'm like, okay, well, what have you done? I am what if there's a problem, there is a solution. Okay. So what have we done? Let's write it out. Let's figure it out. I mean, okay, I'm gonna be compassionate. I'm gonna hear you out by like the fifth time. It's like, okay, we've exhausted all efforts here. Let's just cut the fat on this one. Have you tried this? Okay, no. Okay, let's move on. And I did not used to be this person. So I love that I was able to say, like, nope, no more. Like, this is just a non negotiable.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing how difficult it can be to start with. And then once you are into just being able to be about yourself and what is going to nurture yourself and be there for your family, like, yeah, it just puts everything else in perspective and makes it easier. Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that it's not going to be hard. I
Hmm.
mean, I've had this
Hmm.
situation with some of my closest family members, and um, we had our Thanksgiving yesterday, and I looked around and I was so proud. I have six, well, I have more siblings than that. I think it's a total of nine, but my mother has had six children, and they were all here yesterday. And I was looking around thinking, I'm so proud. And we all said, this is the best Thanksgiving we've ever had. But we had to set our boundaries for our family and that if that
Hmm.
meant someone maybe not being at a Thanksgiving, oopsie, maybe next time, let's figure it out. But forgiveness is a huge part, but don't mistake forgiveness as grace or forgetting. I mean, it's important, and the way we treat people is important. I used to think that everyone had perfect families, and that I was the only one that had like chaos in my family, and I was felt really really down about that, especially being with a divorced parent. So
Hmm.
being able to see like, wait, most of your families they are dysfunctional and the dysfunction is actually the normal part like if you've got the normal perfect family like let me
Hmm.
figure out what's missing not that we're trying to go digging but my point is I think there's a lot more dysfunction is the norm than
Hmm.
there is not of the other norm and you have so many personalities and views and you have to get them all together but
Hmm.
it's nice to have the moments where you look back and you're like man, that was a really special time, and that will be a huge victory for me, seeing the growth of our family because of those boundaries.
Yeah, absolutely. Good for you. That's awesome.
Mhm.
So if people want to learn more about you, if they want to get into your world a little bit more, where can they find you?
So, if you want to follow me personally, you can probably just check Instagram at Brittany Costa, BritAnieCosta. And then my business is at the Princeton Co. or at Macro Med Spa. Those are on Instagram. And then my website is theprincetonco.com and macromedspa.com. Yeah, and I'm trying to put myself out there to help a little more. I feel like it's been something I've been called upon to do. So I'm going to try to take my personal page and channel some of my tips and healing as much as I can. It feels overwhelming and a bit daunting, but I hope that anybody trying to get in touch will be able to experience some type of, I don't know, something that seems helpful, a takeaway.
Yeah. I will have all those links below, but I think that's amazing because just today you shared your amazing story with us and so many tips that you gave us that we can take away with. I mean, they can try the journaling, the small victories, the boundaries. Like you have a wealth of stories and information for us. So I so appreciate you being on here and sharing those with us.
Thank you. And it's investing in ourselves and trying to take away the things that are going to stick. And for anyone in their journey, please don't give up. Just keep going. You're here
Mhm.
for a purpose. You're loved, and you can find your community and your people and the people that will believe in you. And for me, sometimes it was a Facebook group or a hashtag. So hang in there, and you'll get through it. And I'm so happy that I was here with you today. You have just such a positive energy, and um, it's just a privilege to be able to even be welcomed on and to speak on a situation and share those takeaways that I've had.
Oh, absolutely. It's a privilege to all my listeners and myself that you shared your story with us. So I definitely appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear more of your pods. And thank you for having me on.
Yeah, definitely. And thank you, listeners, for hanging with us and listening. And like I always say, choose yourself, nurture yourself, and I love you. We will talk next week. All right. Mhm.